Hello. Hello. Hello, Dr. Uma. I don't see anyone there. I don't see anyone and I don't hear anyone. Okay. Yeah, bye. Why they have so much of issues and other people all can organize. Why do they have?
Are you able to see us?
Okay, yes. Oh my God. Yes, now I can see.
Right.
You seem to be having so much of issues.
Yes, unfortunately, some technical features. Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought, I'm used to Webex and I didn't have any problems before.
Can you try sharing your slides again? Let's see if today it works.
Okay. If it's loading. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, can you see if you can share your slides?
Yeah, I am. It is loading. It's taking a long time. It's so slow. Okay. Do you see it now?
Yes, I do. Okay, are you able to control slides on your side?
Okay, let me see. Now, why is this open? Nope.
Oh, okay, again, it's I who get to control the slide. Okay, can you go to, on your screen, on your very left, can you see there's a floating toolbar here?
Yeah.
Are you able to see 01, 02?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where you start controlling the slides from there. Are you able to do that?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'll do that from there then.
Yes.
Okay. So the flow is someone will introduce me and then I'll start speaking, right?
Yes. And then participants can ask questions through the chat. And then, so we'll take some questions. Depending, I'll see how it is. If it's relevant to the point being spoken at this point of time, then I'll bring the questions. Else, for questions at the end.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
At the end, meaning when, Dr. Ma?
So your session's for 1 hour. So maybe let's say At the end is after you finish your presentation.
Yeah, otherwise?
Otherwise, during your presentation, I may need to interrupt if there are questions which are relevant to that point.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay. I'm okay with that. Yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so we have another minute. So let me see.
Yeah. How many people are there now?
Just give me a minute. Let me check it up.
I'm not able to see it here.
I see. I'm unable to count, but there are probably around 50.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's still, it's 2:30. So some of them will be coming in a little later, but most of them are lecturers from Polytechnic.
Okay.
I recognize some names. Okay, so I think, are you ready to start?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Umawati Sachnamurthy from the Instructional and Digital Learning Division, Department of Polytechnic and Community College Education, Putrajaya. So welcome to the TVET Digitalization Exploring the New Norm webinar series 3. Now this is a sequel to the successful webinar series we have conducted in June for 3 consecutive weeks. And then today we started 2 slots in the morning. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box in your WebEx control panel, and we will bring them up during the presentation, or we also have time for questions at the end. And kindly answer the feedback form link, which I'll be passing it to you later after watching this session, as your feedback and reflection on the session is important and valuable to us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now in a traditional TVET setting, we as lecturers have the ability to visually observe students, interact face-to-face with them. Now with the pandemic, we have resorted to remote teaching, just like at most countries in the world. Now during a recent survey, BICD conducted to find out issues concerning online teaching and learning, we found that the 2 main issues were in terms of infrastructure and pedagogical issues. So let's look at the pedagogical issues. What we found was students seem to lack of engagement, there was lack of online class control, and instructors had a bit of trouble choosing suitable instructional strategies when conducting lessons online. Moreover, our pre-service training had not prepared us for online delivery. Okay, so that's how we actually came about, coming up with more webinar series to actually help lecturers in the polytechnics and community colleges to understand the need for active engagement to complement content delivery. All right. So together with us today, we are very honored to have Dr. Mahalakshmi Arjunan, who is also the Global Coordinator, International Service for the Acquisition of Agri-Biotech Applications. She's also the Executive Director of Malaysian Biotechnology Information Center. She's also the founder and editor-in-chief of the Petri Dish. She's also the International Consultant for UNFAO Biosafety Project, Sri Lanka, a co-founder of Science Media Center Malaysia, and the adjunct lecturer at Monash University Malaysia and AIMS University. So how are you doing, Dr. Maha?
Very good, Dr. Uma. Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. So without further ado, I will, you may start your presentation. So the title of your session would be how to use science, science media, to be used as a resource for online teaching and learning. So I think this is something everyone's talking about STEM education, but how are lecturers going to use STEM materials to enhance their teaching and learning? So over to you, Dr. Ma.
Thank you, Dr. Umar. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be speaking at this thing because I see myself as an educator, although I teach in the university and I hold adjunct positions. But I also teach my children at home, and I think science is very exciting, especially at this time, because everything that we see around us revolves around science. From the time we wake up in the morning until we go to the bed, everything that we are doing is science. And look at how science is saving our day to day. During the pandemic, where we cannot do face-to-face workshops and teaching and all activities, science and technology is saving us. So how can we prepare our students and the future talent to meet the challenges in the future? It's going to be even more competitive. Science and technology is advancing so rapidly outside Malaysia. I must be honest and say in Malaysia, I think that we still have a lot of things to catch up. So being educators, how can we play a role? And that's what I'm going to talk about. Like what Dr. Umar said, I am the founder and editor-in-chief for the Petri Dish. You see the logo here. This is the first science newspaper in Southeast Asia. So let me start my presentation. Yeah. So the Petri Dish, and our tagline is where science hits the headlines. And this is the first science newspaper not only in Malaysia but also in Southeast Asia. We started in February 2011, and just in March, we stopped our printing and we went online for two reasons. One is we did not have enough funding to continue printing. And number two, everyone is going online. And also because of the lockdown, our printer was closed. So we thought, okay, maybe online is the way to do it. But then if you really ask me, I still like print because print gives you something tangible. You can hold the paper, you can show it in the class, you can sit around the newspaper, you can flip the pages, you can take it home, and we can sit with our family members and discuss science. And that is my dream, where science becomes a topic of discussion. Like you just see, when we go to kopitiam, we go to restaurants, a dinner table, what do we discuss? We discuss sports, we discuss entertainment, we discuss politics, but science is never discussed outside our work. So how can we make science a culture? How can we make science a lifestyle? And that is my passion. So for all these reasons, and I will tell you more why we started publishing the Petri Dish. I came out with the Petri Dish. So it is published by my institute, my center, which is called Malaysian Biotechnology Information Center, a not-for-profit organization. And our aim is to create public awareness on science with a focus on biotechnology. So why the Petri Dish? As I said, to raise science literacy. Now, why is science literacy very important? A lot of time we tend to tell our students who are in STEM to ask them to be updated on science. But to me, as a science communicator, I would say everyone needs to have some basic science knowledge. Look at how people wear masks today. They wear it, and I just made a video in my Facebook. They wear it under the nose. They wear it. They bring it to their neck and then bring it up again. And all these things are not safe at all. So why do they do it? Because they don't understand the science behind the 3-ply mask and how the virus transmits. So this is why raising science literacy is very important. As I said, everything that you turn around, everything is about science. And science is not just important if we are a STEM professional. It is important for everyone. So as I said, informed decision making in everyday life. And for those sitting in positions who are decision makers, and this could be policy makers or politicians, for them to make policies and regulations that are science-based. If not, we'll see in the parliament when science is being debated, everything goes, people don't understand the real science and the discussion just goes out of tangent. And regulations, if regulations for example, if regulations for drug development, regulations for genetically modified crops, regulations for gene editing, for cloning is not science-based, then there's always a fear of the unknown. And people will say that all these are so new, we are playing with nature, we should stop this without even looking at the science. And who is making this decision? These are lawyers. These are policymakers who are not trained in science. So we want people to be at least have some basic understanding of science. So when they sit in all these different positions in Putrajaya, and I go for international meetings where international regulations are negotiated, and we see lawyers and people who are not trained in science, completely using different analogies. Genetically modified crops is compared to nuclear weapons. So it's not completely off tangent. So we need people in decision-making positions to be science literate. They don't have to be trained in science, but at least have the basic knowledge. And to drive science-based economy and innovation. Now, the question I always ask is, can you name me one country in the world which has attained developed nation status, the OECD status, but their science and technology is really poor? You can't think about any country except for maybe Brunei. Brunei is rich because of oil and gas, but otherwise their R&D is not really like it's being driven by foreigners as well. So except for Brunei, all the other countries that are very, very strong in industrialized country, they are pillars that drives their economy is science and technology. So you see, this is where we want science to be out there for everyone. Now, the other one, as I said, how can we make science a culture, lifestyle, for us to speak up to our children, for anyone to talk about science, for us to say, instead of going shopping, can I go to a science museum? Can I go to science theater? Can I go to science musical? Of course, we don't have all these things in Malaysia, but this is why we want people who make decisions to realize that all these are important. The other one is democratizing science. Now, for long, science has been seen to be something that belongs to the elite. Even in school, we compartmentalize. So we say, you are a science student, okay, you are the more the elite classes. And in the universities or scientists and social scientists. So we always see science belonging to the elite. Now, how can we democratize science? So science belongs to everyone, and including the public, the indigenous people. So these people now influence policy making. So the people can tell the government where to put the funding. Do we want to put our funding in sending someone to space, or do we want to put our funding to combat dengue? Do we want to put our funding to come out with a vaccine for COVID? You see, today what's happening? We are practically negotiating with countries that are developing vaccine to make Malaysia a priority buyer. Now, why haven't we started our drug development ourselves? So how can we democratize science so people can tell the government, this is what you should be doing. This is how funding should be allocated. This should be the priority. So everyone plays a participating role in science and technology development. Now, celebrate local science and scientists. A lot of children will say, I want to be a scientist. And if we ask them, like who, it is always the legendary scientists who are like dead and gone. Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, or even those who are living, but someone who is not in our country. It could be Neil deGrasse Tyson or Carl Sagan. So why can't it be Professor Amina, Professor Mutu, and Professor Akyong? So we need to celebrate our local scientists. We need to create idols among our scientists so that I can resonate with another woman who looks like me instead of someone who I've never met and who doesn't look like me. So this is where we need to celebrate our local scientists. We do great research in many institutes, and this has to come out to the public. And that is why I founded the Petri Dish, because if we look at the mainstream media, the Star, Utusan, and Newsday Times, and all the Chinese and the Tamil news, we don't see much science. So I thought we needed our own platform. So our own research will have a platform, and this can be a spokes a mouthpiece for our scientists and our research. So that's where the Petri Dish comes. Okay. Now, we are all talking about the new normal, but to me, when it comes to education, the new normal started way long ago, because the new normal, we are talking about how we can create talent for the future. Now, I'm sure as educators, all of you have heard that the children today are going to work in a field that is non-existent. Now, I always dispute this because I am working in a field that was non-existent when I was born, when I went to school, even when I did my master's. I did my master's in biotechnology, my first degree in microbiology, biochemistry, but I shifted to science communication in my PhD. So science communication was not known at all when I started doing it. When I was doing my PhD, yes, it was known, but even until now, science communication is still at an infancy stage in Malaysia. When I was doing my master's, I didn't know it existed. So you see, it is not really true that all the children are going to work in something that's non-existent. Yes, they are going to work in non-existent, but what I'm saying is it is not only children this day. Even those who were born in 40s, when the steam engine transformed to become electrical engine, when electrical engine transformed and used IT, when IT now become IoT, everyone started stepping up and using transferable skills and started having flexibility and agility to work in different fields. So today it is the same. So how do we prepare our students so that they can work in something that's non-existent? And from IoT, we're going to go into something else. So how can our students still be relevant? So here we always say that our jobs are all at risk. AI is going to replace a lot of jobs, which is true. But again, AI is also going to create a lot of jobs. And these jobs are going to be different. The skills are going to be different. So let's look at the skills for 2015 compared to 2020. So just roughly complex problem solving, coordinating with others, critical thinking, people management, and these are the current thing that we need. But from 2020 onwards and going forward, we need new skills as well. And these are like emotional intelligence, cognitive flexibility. What do I mean by cognitive flexibility? I see this as agility. If I'm trained in microbiology, but today I'm working in science communication, how can I shift? Someone who is trained in biotechnology, how can they shift to work in bioinformatics, which is a combination of biology, mathematics, IT. So you see, it is all becoming completely intertwined. So we need new things. And as I said, this is even pre-COVID, things have been already changing. So pedagogy has to change. The content has to change. The approaches has to change when we teach our students. Now, again, pre-COVID, this is a very nice chart, and I think there's more to this chart. I took it from Nature. Now, this is where everything is becoming multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, where two different disciplines, where approaches from one discipline is used in another one, and a lot of coordination happens between two different disciplines, or interdisciplinary, where integrating concepts, frameworks, and approaches from one or more disciplines, and transdisciplinary, thinking that transcends boundaries of conventional disciplines. Now, are we prepared for all these things? So look at drug development, for example. So for drug development, who is involved in drug development? Is it just a biologist? We need biologists. We need immunologists. We need protein experts. We need pharmacists. We need doctors. So we need so many different people. And this is what I say, multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, where people are working in different disciplines, and they have to speak to different, they have to speak in different language. When the pharmacist is speaking to immunologists, they have to speak slightly different language. And today, drug development also involves IT. A lot of initial research is not done on wet lab, but it's all done on computer modelings, changing the chemical structure, and then they bring it. Then they work on wet lab. So you see, there's a lot of. So how will a biologist to an IT guy and say, this is what I want? I want the software to do this. I want the applications to do this. So see, this is where we cannot say, oh, you are IT. Don't worry, you don't have to know biology, because we don't know where they are going to go in the future. So just look at this chart now, engineering. And engineering is, to me, it is still a simplified chart, because engineering itself is chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, aviation, aerospace, biochemical, and so many new areas of chemical engineering. So if we look at engineering, look at this, how engineering, this line goes to material science. And then from engineering, it goes to chemistry. And then so much from material science is related to biochemistry. Clinical research goes to computer science. Clinical research goes to chemistry. And there is also clinical research going to material science. So you see how it is all interconnected. And this is what we say multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary. Physics and space, is it related to biological science? Yes, there is a line going to biological science. So environment, is it related to biological science? Yes, there is a line going to biological science. So to me, I am very, very excited because how do we speak to different people, work with different colleagues completely from different different training, and we put our brains together. So this is where our students have to be internationally competent. If not, I don't think we can, move forward in Malaysia. So again, pre-COVID. Now this slide I always provide to my postgraduate students. Now, students. We have very good students. Our students are very smart, and they do very well in universities. But they still are not exposed to what is the real life outside in the industry. Now, for them, but in fact, I was also like that. I did my final year project in bachelor's degree. I did on fungus, and when I was growing the fungus, I saw some paper-like thing growing, and I took it to my lecturer and I say, hey, look. I see paper-like thing growing in my fungus, and that means we can make paper out of this. And he just said, Mahavej, you have limited time. Please just concentrate on what you are supposed to do. And he was right. You know why? Because, of course, final year project is not going to be a big breakthrough. I wasn't doing a PhD then. And also, he was right because anything can be done in the test tube. We can do bioplastics in the test tube, and bioplastics have been done in the test tube since 40 years ago. But why is it that until now we don't have a real bioplastic that could replace plastics? Because anything can be done in the test tube. A baby can be created without a sperm and ovum in the test tube. Do we want to do it? So this is where I always say science tells us what can be done. Science today tells us you can create a baby in the test tube without a sperm, without an ovum, without a man, without a woman. But society tells us what should be done. And this is where students, when they come out, and they have to know that whatever that's done in the lab, does it make business sense? So here I'm talking about commercialization. Does it make trade sense? Does it make, can it be commercialized? Yes, I did it in the test tube, but can it be commercialized? Being commercialized meaning we need so much of money, that's one. The public must accept it. I can create a baby, but do all women out there want a baby from a test tube? So you see, there's ethical issues, there is legal issues, there's regulation, there's religious issues. We can do a GM palm oil, genetically modified palm oil, but why we don't want to do it? Because we don't want, it's not because it's not safe, but we don't want our importers to say, hey, we don't want Malaysian palm oil anymore because it's all GM. So you see, that's trade issues. So there are many issues in science. And so a student can be doing engineering, a student can be doing IT, a student can be doing biology, chemistry, physics, anything. But what they do outside when they come to the industry is all determined by the society, by the business, driven by business, driven by politics, driven by religion, ethics, and all these things. So we cannot keep our students in a cocoon and say this is what it is. So that is why exposing students to all these areas is very important. SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. Now, if we look at SDGs, there's 17 SDGs. I always tell my audience that except for 1 or 2 or 3 maybe, all the other SDGs, where is the answer? No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, gender equality, clean water, affordable clean energy, and industrial innovation. Look at all responsible consumption and production. If you look at all these things, life on land, life below water, climate change, tell me where is the answer? The answer to all these things lies in science. No poverty. Without science, we will still be dying of poverty. We will still be malnourished. And a lot of people ask, how about gender equality, Maha? What can science do for gender equality? Now, let me tell you, in agriculture, a lot of, in developing countries, in poorer countries, in Africa, in India, in Bangladesh, even Philippines, the farmers are women. but their productivity is lower than men. Why? Because they are not able to get good seed variety. They are not able to do the physical work. So how if we can mechanize? How if we can give them seed varieties where they do not have to spray, so they do not have to carry the big pump and spray? Now the productivity is going to go up, because now a lot of farming work requires physical strength. So if we can give all these things to women farmers, then the productivity is going to go, and this is where gender equality kicks in. So you see, this is where, to me, I mean, you can see that I'm so passionate about science, because a lot of things can be done with science by people who are in science and also by people who have chosen not to be in science. To me, both areas are very important. We need economists, we need social scientists, we need accountants, but these people need to understand science as well. So this is a Pentagon Theory, and this comes from UNESCO. If we look at all this intelligence, what is the intelligence that we need? And this is post-COVID, but of course it's relevant to pre-COVID as well. Technological intelligence, economic intelligence, and this is what I say. It cannot be, oh, I've got my PhD in molecular biology and I can come up with a drug and no one can stop me. No, I need all this intelligence. I need economic intelligence. I need political intelligence. I need cultural intelligence. Now, I am so good in genetically modified crops. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a gene from porcine, from pigs, and I'm going to put it in our fish, and our fish is going to grow so much, it's going to have all this. Hey, excuse me, do you have any cultural intelligence or not? Do you know if you do that in Malaysia, our Muslim friends can't eat it? And do you know that politically it will be not right? Socially it will not be right. So you see, we need all these things when we work in science as well. So creative innovation. So this is where we need, our students have to be nurtured so they can go into the next phase of work. And I think the whole world is moving towards this. So we cannot be left behind. Okay, now I'm not an expert in this. Dr. Uma is. So any questions, I'll ask her to answer, but then superficially blended learning. Now this is where visual learning. Today, as I said, students are very, very smart. Sometimes they read a lot of things that we don't read, and they come into the class and they say, Dr. Maha, or teacher, how about this? And then we get a bit embarrassed and say, okay, never mind. That's not very important. Let's move on. So we must be the teachers, wherever we teach. It could be schools, it could be polytechnics, college, universities. We have to be well read, and this is where we can. The flipped classes actually is more. It's much more work for teachers than the traditional class. A lot of teachers think, oh, it's flipped class. Okay, you come back, you tell me, we discuss. No, teachers and lecturers have more work to do in blended learning and flipped classes, because they have to really prepare the notes and discussion and the pointers for the children to come back, the students to come back, and for them to take the class over. So this is where visual learning platforms are very important. No more chalk and talk, just writing and monologue. No, focusing on mastering. It's not just what you should be thinking, but how to think. We should be telling students how to think, not what they should think. They should not think like me. They should even go beyond us. Peer-to-peer coaching, or we say also co-learning. It's not about I'm in this classroom, I'm the smartest, so you just listen. No, it's peer-to-peer learning or coaching. It could be co-learning, we learning with children, or the students learning from another student. So that's co-learning. Direct instructions, game-based learning, gamification is really, really a big thing, and it's fun. And this is where we can inspire and get children motivated to learn a subject. Global connections, it's really important, because we all say that it's borderless world, it's a global village, so we need to know what's happening outside Malaysia. We need to collaborate with people outside Malaysia. Technology integration, inquiry-based learning, a lot of questions, answering questions, coming out with different perspectives. So, this is all about blended learning, and so this is where we need more than a textbook to conduct teaching in classrooms. So what are the challenges faced by students? And I'm also a counselor for a mentor for Malaysian Technology Development Corporation, where I counsel students, graduates, especially on what they can do after graduating. And the question they come and ask is, even after doing masters, so Dr. Maha, I did my masters in pharmaceutical engineering. What do you think I should be doing now? So it's like, hello, you chose pharmaceutical engineering. Now you should know why you chose that. What's the aspiration? Where you want to go? At least name 3 industry players in that area. But what happens is students from school until they graduate, even with PhD, they are clueless of where they can go, what to do, what is the value they can bring, who requires their qualification. So these are the challenges faced by students. And this is all because, as what I said earlier, there is no technological intelligence, global connections, and all this inquiry-based where we ask them questions. They're unsure about their career path, lack of knowledge about industry players in the young field. I'll always say, if you are doing microbiology, you must know at least 10 companies in microbiology. If you're doing IT, cybersecurity, you must know 10 companies working in cybersecurity. So you know what they do, and you know where to apply, and you know where to seek advice. Lack of knowledge on market demand. What is really the market require now, so that my studies, my FYP, my PhD can be aligned towards that? What is the current trend? What are the challenges right now that my study, my projects can address the current trend? So when I go out, I can say, hey, look, I worked on waste treatment, so I know how to treat waste. And you see all this waste treatment in Selangor. So, you know, I can solve this problem. So this is where students are very, very much still in the cocoon. So,
allow me to interrupt.
Yeah.
Question here. Science is an amazing subject to our life. Students just learn science in their schools, college, or university, but when they are not involved in science practical methods when they come home. So parents must encourage their child to get involved in science, whether in home or not. So, how, in your opinion, how we as parents can bring science fun in our home?
Okay, now that's one reason why I founded the Petri Dish, because Petri Dish is not only for policymakers, politicians, scientists, and educators, but it's for general public. And we have got a lot of content in the Petri Dish meant for really non-technical. You can be a lawyer mother, you can be an economist father, you can be an accountant mother, but you know you can still understand and get excited, and it can be used as a topic of discussion on a dinner table. Ask question, inquiry based. Ask question, discuss. If both parents and children don't know, then we should say, hey, look, mommy don't know as well. So can we just go and do some Google after dinner? So it's co-learning. So, and for that, what we did was when we were printing the Petri Dish, we left so many copies in a number of shopping malls in Klang Valley, the Mid Valley, Garden, Paradigm, Sunway, and we also left for 3 copies to be just picked up. We left copies in all the Starbucks, in private hospitals, in airports, but of course now we are not printing. So this is our contribution, but then with limited funding, it's not happening. But you're right. I strongly believe that every household should be a scientific household. They should discuss. And you see, to me, as a science communicator, what I did with my children is when I'm cooking, I will say, hey, do you know why we tumis? Why do we put the oil first, and then put our curry leaf, and then put our onion? Why can't we put our curry leaf and onion after the curry is cooked, and then you just put? Of course, we do that as well. But why do you put it in the oil? Because there are a lot of compounds, chemical compounds in there that are oil soluble. That is why when you put your mustard seed, the Indians use mustard seed, biji sawi, and when you put your curry leaf in the oil, immediately you have the aroma, because the oil soluble compounds are coming out, and we want our curry to have that aroma. So that's why we don't put it in the water. So why this medicine has to be taken before meal and this has to be taken after meal? It has to be taken before meal because if you take after meal, there are a number of nutrients, all the vitamins that you have taken with your breakfast, the protein and everything will interrupt with the absorption. So we have to take this before meal. Why this has to be taken after meal? Because it might cause gastric. So you want to fill up your stomach before taking this. So you see, these are all everyday things. We do all these things at home. But when our children ask, and the doctor asks you to take before meal, you must take before meal. Don't disturb mommy so much. So you see, this is where I think everyday thing can be used. If you don't know, Google and then discuss at home. So this is what I say, participative learning. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Do allow me to share. So I'm a parent myself. So to the question by Encik Muhammad Hairul Nizam. So even I subscribe to science boxes which were delivered home. So there are projects, like 3 projects, and it's a monthly thing. So there are 3 projects. Again, this requires commitment from parents. Okay, so all the materials are in there, and it's actually a bonding time. So nowadays we have science-based materials, STEM-based materials, which can be delivered online, and you can do it as an activity from home. So and actually, it's also a learning process for us as parents, because maybe we were not exposed to that much of science when we were younger. As what Dr. Maha said, you're supposed to eat the medicine before meal, so you just do it. There's no that thinking process behind it. So I would suggest, parents, if you do your research, you will be able to see certain brands actually delivering science projects to be done at home with your children, as young as they have different categories of projects which are suitable for kids who are 3 to 5 years old, and kids who are 5 and above, and also 10 to 12. So yeah, just do your research. There are a lot of things that we can do from home. So also bring them out to the nature. I think that's how you can actually give them the relevance for science. Yeah. Okay. So so now will you be sharing how Petri Dish can be used? Articles in Petri Dish will be used for teaching and learning. You mentioned about the cross-disciplinary, the interdisciplinary projects that can be done.
Yeah. So you see, I'm not going to give you exactly idea what you can be done, but I'm just going to show you examples like this. Now the next few slides, I've taken some articles from the Petri Dish. You see, for example, this is FAO, United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. It calls for bioeconomy that does not leave anyone behind. Now, this talks about family farmers, bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is biology and economy. Can you see how if our students are doing economy and then say, okay, you all are doing economy, that's it? No. Now we're talking about bioeconomy, bio-based economy. So this talks about family farmers, poverty, hunger, and forest people. You see, forest people and fishers and whole knowledge, resources, sustainable. Okay, so these are the keywords. Now, so this article gives global connections. So now, if they are doing economy, they will see it in a macro manner. If they're doing agriculture, if they're doing fishing, something to do with fishery, they're doing, they will look at it in a macro level. How does it connect? When I'm doing, say, a diploma in fishing, for example, fisheries, how does that connect the dots with poverty, with economy, with indigenous people, with sustainable development? You see how it all connects the dot? So connects science and socio-economy, and also the SDG goals, sustainable development component. So what I would do if I'm a teacher is I will pick up an article like this for economy class. I'll purposely pick up something that is science-based or interdisciplinary-based and tell them, now, can you tell me what are the values you could bring from your diploma in fishery or your diploma in pertukangan kayu or anything, but of course this is not pertukangan kayu. You can find another article on that. And how does that help sustainable development? How does that help indigenous people? How does that help poverty alleviation? So we are connecting dots now. So this is where we can have blended learning, co-learning, and also assignments, projects based on all these things, and very relevant and very multidisciplinary. So here is MOU signed between UNIMAS and another company. And what does it say? Sarawak plays an important role in terms of generating competent human capital for the digital economy through innovative curriculum and trainings. Now, I'm sure you have got diploma in HR or diploma in whatever related thing. So how is HR going to be in the future? HR for digital economy. Now, we never heard about digital economy when we were in the university, but today these HR people are supposed to train and for digital economy. So digital technology, economy. So how can we use this article and prepare them for the future? So this is, these are the examples. Now let's look at this way forward with information technology in oil palm fields. This is an article about FGV. Falda Global Ventures. And you see, this is a mapping done. And here, what do we see? Oil palm, agriculture, technology, which is IT, and business. So how, people who are doing business, how can we use this article for business students and say, now, tell me how all these things work. How can IT be employed in a plantation company? And what are the values? And you see, this is where IoT. So we are preparing our students for the future. Mathematics can save lives at sea. Mathematics, marine, sustainable development. Remember the sustainable development, life below water, life above sea. So see how all these things, and mathematics. So everything, it can be used, and now students will not just think within their discipline, but they will start connecting the dots. And this is very important, because remember, when we go out and work, especially in the corporate sector, I have to talk to social scientists. I have to talk to biologists. I have to talk to engineers. And what are the language? Speaking to engineer, I must start thinking like an engineer. So speaking for social scientists, I have to start thinking like a social scientist. And this is where it prepares them for all these connections. Designing a flexible material to protect buildings, military personnel, engineering, material science, protection. So again, you see, it's all multidisciplinary. So I would say this is how I would use this for assignments, projects, even final year projects. And flipped classes, where, flipped classes, we give them all the resources and then we ask them to come back and do the discussions. Okay, so the Petri Dish in classrooms, as I said, flipped and blended classes, assignments, projects, competitions. How can we organize competitions? Speaking, I've done all these things at school level, in the nationwide. So competitions, speaking and public speaking. Can we organize the public speaking, give them a topic, and they have to do all the research and speak about IoT in something. A presentation in classes, career counseling. It can be used for career counseling when students come and ask us, so I did this, where do I go? And because we are exposed to all the industry, the technology, the players, and what's happening, they say, hey, you know what, these companies are coming up, and people like you will be needed in these companies, so we can give them career counseling. This is the benefit for the educators. Choice of tertiary education now. Polytechnic, after they do their diploma, most of them,
can I interrupt?
Yes,
okay,
sure.
I think we can ask the audience how many of them have actually used, real world articles like this, or how many of them have actually used real world problems in solving, to be solved in their classroom. So maybe we can ask that to the audience, and maybe they can answer in the chat.
Yes, please. So, you can also tell us what you have been using all this while, and how else the Petri. I can also, if I have time, I can also go to the Petri Dish and show the other, go online and show the other sites that we have. So please tell us as well how this can be used in a different creative manner, and what you have been using as well. And I also, one thing I really want to know is, currently our students still in that compartment. I'm a HR student. I only look at HR, the law, the labor law, and all these things, and the psychology and everything. Do they only do that, or are they also looking at all the different multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary? I'm really keen to know that. So yes, please share your thoughts, your suggestions, your comments, your disagreement as well. If you don't agree with something, no, Dr. Maha, that is not right. So please, we are all learning together, because remember, it's a new normal. For education, it's new normal. We are all learning together. So please feel free. So as I said, choice of tertiary education now. Your students, most of them are like diploma students. Some polytechnics offer degrees to a degree. So especially for diploma students and even degree year, they'll always come and say, okay, I did this. I want to do my master's, but in what? For us, how can I spell it out for someone and say, okay, Dr. Umar, you do your PhD in flipped classes. But, Dr. Umar can say, no, I don't like flipped classes. I want you to do English as a secondary medium. So it is her interest, what value she dreams of bringing into education. So we have to understand the student, their aspiration, their strength, their weaknesses, So they also have to understand their own self before choosing a tertiary education. And a resource like Petri Dish will provide all the fields there, and they say, hey, I never thought about this, IoT implantation. I think I want to do that. So you see, this allows them to choose a tertiary education, whether it's a degree program or master's, even PhD, or even their project. And network with employment internship. And I know I also had an intern from Polytechnic in Nilai, a biotech intern. So how do they know where can I intern? Which are the industry that's relevant to my studies? Who wants it? So, Petri Dish also have, when we feature a company, then it should ring a bell. Hey, this company is doing a lot of things in IT. So, cybersecurity. Hey, then I can go as an intern, or I can also go for employment when I finish my studies. So all these things, and also collaboration, even internationally. Our students can also intern outside. Our students also can say, hey, this professor from this university in London is doing this. Maybe, this creates the dream. One day I want to go to this university and do my master's. So it creates the aspiration and drive. So this is how the Petri Dish could be used.
Okay.
Yes, sure, Dr. Umar. I'm also coming to the extra.
We did a survey recently to find out what are the issues of teaching online. I think the most prevalent theme was engagement. So during our two earlier webinar sessions in the morning, what we found is both the sessions, they mentioned about how we want our students to actually look forward to come to our class, to attend classes. So one of the speakers mentioned that the use of interesting projects, get students to break out into groups and come up with interesting projects. So I think using a real world resource like this would be useful. So that's what you said about the flipped classroom thing. So as flipped classroom is my forte. So this is what I would always suggest. I've always had this thing for using real-world examples to connect when you're teaching concepts. So all these while students only had learned about concepts, and then they vomited it out in their, whatever's on the textbook, they vomit it out. But the world doesn't need that anymore. What the world needs is we are able to connect those concepts that they learn in a real-world perspective and work in a multidisciplinary team, when you come out and stuff. So I was asking lecturers, okay, so far, not many of them have actually used real-world models. We have already got some answers. And then one lecturer has mentioned, it depends on the topic. So before I usually go further to the topic, I usually discuss with students and I usually relate it with the real world. But what I've read from research is sometimes we do not know enough. Lecturers, we ourselves do not know enough. So it's best to actually use the face-to-face time, the lecture now, project-based, but let them do it at their own pace in their own group. Because we have lecturers now telling us, okay, our jadual waktu is 2 jam, but do we need to spend time 2 jam on screen with our students? So, of course, our speakers were saying, no, what you do is only 20 minutes at first, just to give them, we have already flipped the class, we have already given them the content before class for them to, go through the material during their asynchronous session. So during the synchronous session, break them into groups and then meet them again. So I think the articles, or any real world articles, that you can find, can help them connect the dots between concepts. Okay, so that's all so far. We've only got a few people have mentioned, but most of them are not using a real world problem yet in their teaching and learning. All right.
So yes, I think this is where our education should be driven by the real things that's happening outside, not just classroom thing. Because when they come out, then they're completely lost and they don't know how to quickly adapt to the corporate world. And in the corporate world, what we want is we want a sharp learning curve. We can hold hands for a while, but we cannot hold hands for so long until they really become, so used to what the real problems are at the real world to solve these problems. So I always will say, now teachers, especially at this time when children are also doing their own work to YouTube. A lot of children, I hear that they learn a lot of things from YouTube, science especially from YouTube. So we have to keep ourselves, really one step ahead of our students. Not only students, but our children as well. It's really important.
I'm not endorsing any brands here, but if you were to have Netflix, there are a lot of interesting science programs for kids. And believe it or not, there's one science program that my daughter watches. It was actually conducted by the host was actually expecting. She was pregnant throughout the show. And at first when I was at the dinner table and I was watching her and I saw her watching the show, then I asked her, Ma, is it fun? She said, yes, Amma, she shows really nice stuff. Then I said, why does the host have a bump? We are not used to seeing women with a bump appearing on TV. So then I Googled about that show. I can't recall the name, but the host was actually pregnant throughout the show, and she was hosting a science show. It was a program on Netflix, and that was really inspiring. And she used to get kids to do, bake it. They could actually do their own pizza, I think, under solar sun, and they used aluminium foils and all. That was like so cool stuff. And yeah, so I think, we as parents, so Netflix has a lot of, and so, get your kids to choose them wisely.
Yes.
You will see them, there are amazing science-based content on Netflix. I'm not endorsing any brand, but there are some good shows that you can actually encourage. And actually, one more thing, it's not only for the children. It's even parents, we ourselves can educate ourselves and learn more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I said, it's so important for parents because one is we want our children to be inspired and motivated by us, but number two is for us to make informed decisions. And as a science communicator, I can say that a lot of decisions that we make in our everyday life, especially those who are not using science to guide them, they're making wrong decisions about their health, their nutrition, their diet, so many things. So we need that. So I think today teachers have to go beyond chalk and talk method to teach science. They need to use all kind of, like what Dr. Uma was saying, all kind of resources have to be blended so that we can prepare them for the future. So that is my presentation, and that's one Puan Nur Hafiza who said something. We'll look at it, and that's my email if you want to write to me. So we have this.
She's mentioned that lecturers need to upgrade their skills regarding teaching in science one step forward than students, because students are more advanced. While we teach in front or during online, sometimes we need to find a source. Okay, this is another story that I would like to share. So this year, I was also training lecturers to do flipped classroom. So one of the subject was a subject called material science being taught in Polytechnic, in Polyclass. I remember the lecturer, when I first met her, she was a bit clueless to teach atoms, about neutrons and electrons. She was a bit clueless. So then she had to teach the periodic table and everything. So I told her about the science box that I subscribed to, and I told her, get that science box, get that edition which has that periodic table and the periodic elements and everything, and see how they have actually taught periodic elements to kids, and use this in your class. And she bought that science box, and she found it amazing because they gamified the learning. They also taught how a periodic table is actually, the elements are, they give real-world examples of the elements. You see, oral is gold. So in school, we just memorize the periodic table. Correct? We just remember it was AU, but we didn't know what was periodic table. So what this lecturer did was, based on that concept from that science box, she actually made her lesson more interesting compared to the topic which she taught the previous semester. This semester, she made it more interesting by just making science really fun by gamifying the content. So as lecturers, I told her about the science box, and she went and purchased it, and now she's telling me that, and now doing it online, she's trying to make it online, and it was possible. So as what Puan Nur Hafiza mentioned, there's this need to upgrade, ourselves to make the teaching and learning more.
I think ourselves as a teacher, as well as a parent, is very important. Yeah, so I'm happy to take questions, and besides all the articles that I show, we also have very short, brief articles on simple things and explaining simple things for any non-technical people as well in the Petri Dish.
Okay, so let's see if there are any questions. Yes. But maybe it's something new, and we hope we have reached the lecturers, how to spice up their science lessons. And even those who are not teaching science, yeah, you can even spice up your own culinary classes, you know, you do that. Oh, there's also another example on how she wanted to teach the atomic structure. So we could actually use marshmallows and you know the satay sticks to actually do the structure of the atomic structure and stuff like that. And yeah, and I told her the kids get to eat the marshmallows after class. So that was also a very cool activity, but to teach students the 3D version of a structure of a material. And she found out, she was like, oh, I didn't think of that. You know, all this was because people think, oh, everything has to be digitalized. Everything has to be a 2D animation or a 3D animation or a video or a simulation. But, you can also do things from home, like just using sugar, salt, and vinegar, or you can do this kind of stuff. Yeah, I said, yes, it's possible. So try to do that with your students, even though they're all 18 above, but you just see how much of fun, and then get them to video it, you know, get them to send the video. I think the class was quite successful. Yeah,
we do that as well. We extract DNA from just household materials using detergent, salt, and just tomato juice. So we can extract that as well. So there's a lot of things that we could do just using. You know, recently I also posted on my Instagram gummy bears. You know, gummy bears where it comes with colors. So imagine a gummy bear. You cut them into half like that. And then this side is yellow, and then you put a red, and then another one is yellow and green maybe, and then you can teach genetics. If these two are, and then how is the baby going to be? So you can teach genetics with gummy bears as well. I just want to say another thing as well. This might be a little bit higher for polytechnic students, but mathematics. You know, the potato chips. Have we ever wondered why potato chip is not flat? Why can't we cut potato chip flat and then fry and then put it in the can? Because if it is flat, it will fly when it comes in the conveyor belt during processing. Flat, you see, flat, just like a paper, it will just fly off everywhere. So they made it curled, but the curl is not just one side curl. It's not just like that, but it's also curled this way. So you see, it's curled like this, and it's also curled like that. So that there is a very complex mathematical formula to it. It's called paraboloid hyperbolic. So, and you see, something that is so simple, we buy and then we eat potato chips like that without finish it. But then the science that has gone behind it. And this is where, you know, another thing, when my children came back from school, after doing maths in Form 4, I think. Form 4, Form 3, I can't remember. I said, Amma, I don't know, Amma, now. Is this, the teachers are teaching maths or English? Why we have to do red and blue? Red or blue? What, a girl or boy? What is all these things? If they're doing English, I don't understand why we're doing all these things. Then I took them, it's logical reasoning. I'm sure a lot of you know who teach maths, logical reasoning. So I took a chapter and I said, hey, I didn't do this chapter when I was in Form 4. I can't remember, Form 3, Form 4. And I looked at the chapter and I said, do you know why you're doing this? And I didn't do, because my time, there was no computers. And logical reasoning is what you use to program. So just say in your school, you want to give a scholarship, 10,000 scholarship to 5 students. But if you want to give a scholarship to the one who gets the 5 top percentage, it's so easy. Just choose who the top percentage in every class and then choose. But you don't want only that. You want the top students, and they must be from poor background, and they must have leadership quality, or they must have good values, no disciplinary action, or so there's a lot of and or. How do you choose 5 people from 1,000 students? So you put all these things in the computer will choose. So you see, that is why you need. So a lot of time, children come back and say, what is this, normal curve? I don't even, my children also ask me, Amma, you tell me, Amma, do you use trigonometry in your daily life? Do you use algebra in your daily life? Then why do we have to learn? So we have to tell them, and today we see normal curve of epidemiology of COVID virus. We see the curve like that. We see how what we study, which looks like we are not going to use it in our daily life. So for all these things, we need to connect the dots, right? And also the applications of it. Where is this going to be used, or where is it being used right now? Every science concept theories have got an application, and we need to understand that. And that's when the student will say, now I know why I'm studying. If not, they're going to be studying for exams. Yeah, trigonometry. What to do? Okay, algebra. How to do? Okay, pass already. Forget it. But if they know where they're going to use it, they're going to remember. It's a lifelong learning. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So I also have another experience as a parent as well. So I've also subscribed to this mathematics magazine, which is based in Singapore. So they actually teach mathematical concepts using comics. But in real life stories, using real life, and they're comics based. I think that's also a very good approach. So I always, it's just the quality of the magazine and its paper and everything is very thin. But when I see the amount of work that they put behind it to think about how you want to relate something to a real life situation, that's amazing. And I think that's something that we are not trained on. We are not trained of doing. So I think it's best to look out for more resources and everything. So there's this magazine called Smart Mathematics. They have for lower primary and upper primary. So Singapore makes the magazine, but they have it locally. So you can actually find some of the comics that are actually relevant. It can be used to be taught mathematics. They also have the science one as well. So that's also other things. I mean, as parents, I'm always looking out for, because I understand how important connecting the dots are. Real world concepts and concepts that you learn. Yeah. So I hope the viewers out there as well. I hope this session was something eye-opening for all of you to understand that teachers you need to walk the extra mile to make your teaching and learning more interesting, using as much resources, using resources purposefully. Yeah, having a tool, having this digital tool and everything, but using it purposefully. I think that's a very key thing. So any last words you have, Dr. Maha?
No, I just want to say that this is not a commercial thing, but then do contact me if you want to subscribe to the Petri Dish for your polytechnic, so that we can give you one ID that can be used for the whole polytechnic community, and you can also take it home. Take home that ID for your family. So we have an institutional rate, and it can be used for unlimited users, unlimited gadgets. So in that way, it helps you and it helps us to keep our first science newspaper or media alive in Malaysia. So I'm so passionate about creating the future Malaysia that's ready to take on the technology. So I hope you could support as well. So it will be a win-win situation. And I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and it opened up a few ideas for you to make science, and also other courses, HR and economy and marketing, business, and any other courses also relevant, because you see, someone can be trained in economy, but this economist that you train, where is he or she going to be working? She could be working in a company that deals with science products, science services, or even can we think higher for them? They could be working. They could be working for UN, SDG, economists working for SDG. So we want Malaysians to be like that. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Umar, so much for this slot.
Yes, thank you, thank you, Dr. Maha, for for spending time for this session. I hope it's been beneficial to everyone. So just before wrapping up, I hope the participants of the webinar, you'll be able to fill up your feedback, the feedback form, which is I've given the link there, because your feedback is valuable for us. So tomorrow onwards, the team here in Petri Dish will be working from home since we have the PK here. So tomorrow the webinars will be from our home. Dr. Nana's not available to join us. He's not here at the meeting. So for tomorrow's session, you can see on www.stat.edu.my/webinar-series 3. So you'll be able to see interesting sessions tomorrow and the day after. Right, thank you so much, Dr. Maha. Vanakkam.
Thank you so much, Vanakkam, and all the best. Thank you. Yeah.